I'm excited to have this conversation as well because it's talking about something that's very unique finding we have from our 2025 Workplace Culture Report. And that is the
Yeah.
importance of culture champions. And beyond that, visible culture champions. And how this showed up in our data is companies that had visible culture champions scored 25% higher on culture metrics. So if you have visible culture champions, and these are individuals that people can easily answer as they would love to work with more of them, they would love to duplicate them, they want more of those characteristics on their teams, those individuals, when they are present and people can easily reference them, you're seeing your employees across the board score higher on well-being, motivation, loyalty, culture tools being used better across all the metrics. And I think that's something really, really powerful. And in addition to that, we are seeing 92% of high performers that took our organizational culture survey. So they had the highest scores across all the organizations that took it. 92% of them were able to identify clear culture champions. So it's very important, right, that we're seeing just how much those individuals are improving the experience in those cultures and how they are improving culture health across the board. So can you talk a bit about how you identify culture champions and how you actually nurture them as well?
Yeah, it was a great finding, wasn't it? And in some ways, maybe it's obvious. If you think about a sports team or something where there is a leading light, there's a positive energy, somebody, that's showing the way and living your culture, living your values. And as you say, it's someone you want to duplicate. That's infectious. And by the way, it's the flip side of someone that's toxic. See, toxic drags people
Right.
down, but somebody that's
Yes.
a champion lifts people up. And you know what?
Yeah.
You can grow champions. You can grow champions. Of course, once you've identified somebody who's a great employee, then you build on them. First of all, you give them feedback so that they know that they're doing great stuff, that you're looking to them to be a leading light, and they will give you more of that. Whatever you recognize in people and reward people for, you'll get more of. That's why we love the notice and nominate system. And then, of course, the other thing you want to be doing is constantly giving people feedback about where they are maybe missing on behaviors and where they're doing great so that you can drive the behaviors that you want. And there's no way you can drive the behaviors you want unless you've codified them, unless you've written them down, stated them, and are measuring them. Another great thing to do, of course, is to, when you're hiring, make sure you are screening people so that you can identify their behaviors and you're giving yourself a good chance of knowing how they will behave when they're in your culture. And of course, we talk about core people processes, certain screening tools, interviewing techniques that allow you to identify someone's values so that you know how they'll behave when they join. So those are three things that I think are great ways to grow the quality and quantity of the champions in your organization because have such a positive impact on culture.
And I love too that we've seen these culture champions be all types, right? Sometimes it's the founder, but sometimes it's also the
Yeah,
individual who's cleaning the office and
yeah,
making coffees. They do great work, right? They know everyone's coffee order, they make it perfect, they keep everything nice and clean, but they also are living your values better than maybe some of your other employees are. And
yeah.
I think that's really beautiful too, that culture champions aren't necessarily just your leadership team. They can be throughout all aspects, and they're those individuals that people just love to work with.
Yeah.
One thing too I want to talk about, which we talk about as well, is when you're doing anything around culture initiatives, right? So whether you're doing a full transformation or you're just doing a refresh or you're just coming up with a new kind of solution, right, for addressing something in your culture, the champions are the individuals you really want represented on that committee or in that
Yeah.
process. So can you talk about some of the impacts you've seen of that, whether it's workshops or just simply building a new tool around culture and how you can really leverage these culture champions to further build the culture you've always dreamed of?
It always emerges, these people always emerge quickly in our workshops and it's the vocal person, the person that is being positive and the person that other people are looking to. And
Yeah.
when we put our culture teams together, and let's say you've got 100 employees, we'd want like about 15 people in our workshops from around the company. We're asking that those are the culture champions. And our survey, of course, Claire, our organizational survey identifies too who the champions are.
Yes,
Because we ask that question, who,
absolutely.
and then those are the people we want in the workshop, because we want to refresh the values based on the best of what we've got and kind of raise the bar and bring everybody up to that standard. So yeah, culture champions are awesome. We do rely on them. I also instruct them at the beginning of the workshop. I say, hey, what conversations have you had with the employees since we last met about a month ago? And then I send them away. Don't forget, keep talking, keep being that champion, keep asking questions, learning, listening, observing, so that you can bring that back to the culture team when we meet again.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think too, another point to not be overlooked is these individuals are also your energizers. You talk about often, right, how maybe something like our notice and nominate that we do, leadership can get bored of that. They think it's not
Yeah.
important every week to give away the awards, but we've seen actually employees come back to that leadership member and say, what happened with the awards? We were waiting to see who was awarded this week. And if you put these culture champions in charge of those committees, in charge of reviewing the nominations every week, selecting the winners, even coming up with the awards, those individuals will not get bored. They will keep getting excited and they will bring more people on to take on that work. So it's not just on leadership or the HR team as well. So
Yeah.
really also remember that these individuals are your energizers for your culture initiatives.
It's always great to delegate, and those are the people that will carry the torch for you. Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm remembering a story actually about this, because I think this is, without blowing my own horn, as they say, there's something that I think I do naturally. I went to boarding school in Ireland, right? And I remember being in the dining hall, and some of the boys were kind of speaking negatively about one of the teachers. And I remember saying something in defense, trying to explain why they might be like that and what we could do to kind of help. And one of the boys, I remember, sort of across the table said, well, I've noticed this about you. You're always sticking up for people. And this is what your champions will do. They'll stick up for people and they'll take a conversation in a positive direction. It's a great trait. And
Yes.
this is one of the things that we know that culture champions can do.
Well, and that exact story, right, shows how you can create and improve that sense of belonging and caring for individuals, which is one of the major needs that we see in employees, is to feel cared for, but also that they belong. And when those culture champions are sticking up for those individuals, you are achieving that. And that's why
Yeah.
it's very important. So
Yeah.
don't overlook your culture champions and make sure that you are really nurturing more, and you're also giving them the space to really flourish into who they are and what they do for your company and your culture.